Hello, my name is Megan Burke. I am a member of the Hartford Foundation's Community Funds team and will be presenting Module 4, the final module of this program that outlines next steps for you and members of your community as you begin to establish your town's Community Funds program. In the first 3 modules, you've learned about the role of the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving in your community, the new Community Funds program, and how we are beginning to work with town residents to establish advisory committees for each of the region's 29 towns. There are 5 key steps to forming an advisory committee that reflects your whole community. Since towns in our region are different from one another, we expect each of these 5 steps to look a little different for each selection committee. But ultimately, the selection committee should first identify who lives in their town. What smaller communities or groups exist? Whose voices might often be missing from town-wide conversations that you want to capture? This will lead you to step 2. Get the word out broadly. Consider all the different ways you can spread the word about community funds and the opportunity to serve on the advisory committee. Are you getting the word out in a way that reaches your intended audience? Do you need to use a communication channel that's outside the box for you? Then, third, collect applications or nominations. We'll provide you with tools so you don't need to go through the work of creating your own application or interview process. For your 4th and 5th steps, you'll need to review the applications, select members, and ultimately share your roster with the Hartford Foundation. Perhaps you'll want to set parameters on what you're looking for in each candidate. What should the advisory committee as a whole look like based on your town's makeup? For example, is there youth representation? Is there Spanish-speaking representation? Do you have an LGBTQ population that should be reflected in your advisory committee? If you struggle with any of these steps, we're here to help think through possible solutions and provide resources when necessary. For example, one resource you might consider using to think about who lives in your community is this diversity wheel. This is a tool that can help you consider all the ways people might think about themselves and the perspectives they bring to an advisory committee and ultimately to a successful town fund. Perhaps their age, national origin, or religion differs from yours, influencing how they experience your community. As an example, young people might have unique insight on safety concerns on roads close to the high school. Bringing together this expertise and life experience will result in creative ways to use your town fund to make your town a better place to live for everyone. As you watch this, you may be asking yourself, how can I get involved with my town fund? Can I still go to my town kickoff meeting or jump into the process that's underway? The answer is a resounding yes. There are many ways you can participate, whether you have just a few minutes or more time available. Your participation can range from just staying up to date on your town fund, joining your town selection committee, or applying for the inaugural advisory committee. Do you know others in town who might be interested? Perhaps someone who would make a great advisory committee member? Consider nominating them to this role. You might also consider offering your input for your town's grant-making process, once established, rather than going to more regular meetings. As a resident of your town, this is your fund too. Think about how it could be used to make your town a better place. One of the 4 Hartford Foundation Community Funds staff members is the designated liaison for your town. My colleague Kate shared a list of contact points for each town in Module 3. Or you can just email us at communityfunds@hfpg.org and we'll get you to the right person. We'll let you know where your town is in the process of establishing an advisory committee and who you can talk to in your town to get involved. If your town's kickoff meeting has already happened and a selection committee is formed that you'd like to join, we'll let you know when the next meeting will be held. If the process to form an advisory committee has already been launched, we'll share information so you can decide if you want to express your interest in joining. Please spread the word. The best way to make sure this is as inclusive as possible is to get the word out broadly. Tell your friends, your neighbors, and anyone else that you know in town. The Greater Together Community Funds will be around forever, and so will the Hartford Foundation. We are committed to providing the support each town needs to make these funds a success. As previously mentioned, we have a designated staff member to serve as the liaison for your town. Your liaison can come to meetings and help facilitate your discussions, or find someone else who can help if they're not available. We've started to pull together resources in the form of toolkits for selection committees and for advisory committees. We want to make sure you have templates to work from or simple step-by-step approaches to take that will get you on the right path. We fully support towns to adapt these materials based on their needs, but we definitely don't want you to feel like you're starting from scratch. Since we announced the establishment of the community funds in November of 2018, we have been collecting contact information from interested town residents, and we'll be happy to pass that on to selection and advisory committees when the time is right. We have a community funds page on our website, www.hfpg.org/communityfunds, and we are developing landing pages for each town where you can find selection committee members and eventually grants made. As towns get further along in the process, we will be announcing group trainings on topics such as inclusion, participatory processes, and meeting facilitation. Eventually, we will move to topics such as grant making and fundraising when towns are ready for this. We know there may be other supports needed that we haven't even thought of yet. We plan to continue to listen and learn to respond to these needs as we go.